Okay. So for these first four, when it says write it as a power, that means you don't need a calculator. Okay, it's just simplifying it. When the base is the same and you're multiplying, you add the exponents. So it's just 4 to the 8th. When it's a power to a power, you multiply. So that's 2 to the 12th. When it's a power outside of parentheses, you got to do it to everything in that parenthesis. So you do it to the 6. And remember, if there is no number there, that means it's a 1. So that's a power to a power, so you multiply. So that's all it is. 6 to the 3rd, 7 to the 3rd. Times each other. So this is just like that. You got to square everything. Square the 4. And again, it just says leave as a power. Square the x. And square the y squared. Power to a power, you multiply. When it says evaluate, then you do use a calculator. Now every year there's about 1/4 of the people that get this wrong because they just put that in a calculator.
It's 0.008.
0.008, and you get it marked wrong. Write your answer as a fraction in simplest form. So you need. These are the easy fractions.
Okay.
All you need to do is remember what's the rule when the exponent's negative.
Move down the bottom.
If it's on the top, move it on the bottom, bottom, move it up. So this is 1 over 5 to the 3rd, and then you got to simplify it. That's 1 over 5 to the 3rd is 125. Here, it's just like the rule for a power to a power. You got to do both of these to the -1. And since they're both negative exponents, you got to flip them both. This goes up, this goes down. So it'd be 3 to the 1st over 1 to the 1st, which just simplifies to 3. This one is just like this one up here, except instead of putting the dot, they put a parenthesis. And this doesn't have an exponent, which means it's a 1. So remember, when the base is the same, what do you do to the tops? Add. So that's 2 to the -4th, which is 1 over 2 to the 4th, which is 1/16. This one is like this one, except the exponent's a -2. It would be 1 to the -2nd, 4 to the -2nd. They're both negative, so you have to move that one up, this one down. So it'd be 4 to the +2nd over 1 to the +2nd, which is 16 over 1, which simplifies to 16. Okay, rewrite with positive exponents. So, since this is negative, you would just move it down. And that's all you can do. There's nothing that'll simplify, nothing will cancel off or combine. Here too, now you got to remember, the only thing that the negative is attached to is the x. So that moves up. The 3 stays where it's at. So when you move that up, it's just a 1 up there. So 1 times this would change to x to the +3rd. Here the only thing wrong is this negative, so you just move it underneath. So it would be y to the 3rd stays where it's at. This moves down. Remember, it's just the exponent that changes. It's not the sign of the number or letter. So on 12, these two have negative exponents, so they both have to move up. So it'd be x squared y, is that a cubed?
Yep.
On top, the 2 would just stay where it's at because it didn't have a negative
Can you
exponent.
leave the 1 up there? Or you have to?
If you put the 1 in front, that's not wrong, but 1 times anything is just that. Okay, simplifying, this is where you cancel stuff off and combine whatever you can. Again, no negative exponents, it's just like the worksheet we just did. Here the rule is you subtract the exponents when they're divided, but the easier way to think of it, I think, I don't know if you guys agree, is canceling. Is it easier just to think of canceling? There's one more y on the bottom, and there's all of them would cancel on top, so you got to put something up there, so you put a 1. This one, all we can do is take 4 to the third, x to the third. It doesn't say to write as a power, so we should figure that out. 4 to the third is 64. X to the cube. Now on this one, everything is to the 4th. So probably the easiest thing to do is to simplify the parentheses first. The 4 and 3, nothing will cancel, so they'll stay where they're at. The x's, there's one more x on top, and there's one more y on the bottom. So it simplifies to 4x over 3y. But then don't forget, we still have to do everything to the 4th. So, 4 to the 4th, everyone knows how to use the exponent key, right?
It's
256. And then x to the 4th, 3 to the 4th, 81, y to the 4th. Do the same thing. Simplify what's in the parentheses first. 2 over 3 won't reduce. The x's, there's 2 more x's on top. So x squared on top. The y's, there's 1 more y on top. All of that is to the negative third. So we're going to have 2 to the negative third, x to the negative 6th, y to the negative third. Because remember, when it's a power to a power, you multiply. That's how I got negative 6. And then you got to also do the bottom, 3 to negative third. So everything has got to flip because they're all negatives. So this would move up to the top. 3 to the third is 27. These would all come down. And this would turn to 2 to the positive third, which is 8. X to the 6th, y to the third. Okay, the scientific notation numbers, I think everyone got these down pretty good. Rewriting them in decimal form just means write them as a regular number. So remember, what does that mean to do? Move the decimal 2 spots, and since it's positive, you move it right. 1, 2, so it's just 615. Remember, the decimal moves, it's no longer there. If it's negative, you move it left. So 1, 2 spots to the left would be 0.0114. Then, to write a number in scientific notation, the decimal has to be after the first number. So here you'd have to put it right there. So it's just 2 point nothing. You could put 0.0 if you wanted to, or just write the 2. Times 10 to the, I moved it 2 spots, negative. Remember, if the number is less than 1, it's going to be a negative exponent. If it's greater than 10, it's going to be a positive. So here we'd put it there. times 10 to the 1, 2, 3. Okay, here crossed off without using a calculator because you can, although these numbers are easy to deal with without a calculator, so. This would be 6 times 7. Remember, this is all multiplied, so you can multiply in any order. 42. And then when it's multiplied, you add the exponents. -2 plus -3 is -5. So this isn't scientific notation yet. The decimal has to go there. So you either got to add 1 or subtract 1. You got to add 1, right. Remember, if the decimal is over here, if it's greater than 10, you add. If it's less than 1, you subtract. If it's on the right, add. If it's on the left, subtract. Divide problem, this is a simple one. 4 divided by 2 is 2. When it's a division, you subtract the exponents. -2 take away -3 is 1. And we don't need to switch anything because the decimal is after the first number. Same thing here, 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. Times 10, -3 take away -4 is 1 again. And then here, 3 times 12 is 36. -2 plus 3 is 1. Here the decimal is not after the first number, so we got to put it there. I'd have to add 1. I moved it 1 spot, so add 1. Usually, when it's a multiply problem, you're going to end up adding however many spots. It's when it's a dividing, when the decimal ends up on the left, that's when you, oh, sorry. When it's a divide one, you get a decimal and you got to move it that way, that's when you subtract, usually. Okay. Then the exponential growth and decay. So, to match this, again, you're going to want to use a calculator. If you notice, you're going to want to put something in for x. Here, if you put 0 in, it should be at 4. Here, it's also at 4. And here, it looks like it might be 4. So 0 isn't a good number to put in. What would be a good x to put in?
4.
4 would work, but that's off the graph. 2 would work. To me, it looks like 1 is the easiest. 1, 1, 1. Okay, you can put 2 in if you want. Now, one of these graphs is super easy to match. B is what? Because it's a straight line. Remember how to tell if something's linear? No exponents, right? These have exponents. So then all you got to do is check. You can put, again, whatever you want in here. -3, -2, -1, 0 doesn't really tell us. 1. So if I plug 1 in for x, 4 times 1.2 raised to the first is 4.8. So that means 1 over 4.8, which would lie on this line. So that means that's A. If you go 1 over and 4.8 up here, you end up there. It's not on the line. So that means that's C.
I think 27.
Okay, remember how to classify it as a growth or a decay? You just look at this number. Growth or decay? If the number is less than 1, it's a decay. Greater than 1, it's a growth.
The one is to find a percentage.
Nope.
No.
Just the growth or decay. All right, so for these next ones now, you gotta use the formulas. Y equals the initial amount times 1 plus the rate to the time, if it's a growth. Or Y equals the initial amount times 1 minus the rate raised to the time, if it's a decay. So, you deposit an account that pays interest, which means it's gonna be a growth. So you just gotta plug the numbers in. Remember, the balance, Y does give you the balance. That gives you the total amount. So Y is the initial amount. Now here's the key, it's 1 plus the rate. 1.08. Remember, 8%, you gotta move it 2 spots, it's 0.08. So 1 plus 0.08 is 1.08, raised to the third. $2519.424, which would just round to 42 cents. Make sure you round correctly. Okay, the population was 100,000, and each year for the next 5 years it increased, so it's a growth. Write an exponential growth model. And I wrote on here, you don't have to solve it. You just need to write the equation like we did here. So it's Y equals the initial amount times 1 plus the rate. Move the decimal 2 spots. 1.03 raised to the time. Now, they're saying it's 5 years, so if you put the 5 there, that would be fine. But usually they leave it as T so you can find out whatever year you want to find. Next one's the same thing. You don't have to solve it. You just have to write the exponential decay model, which is the equation. So again, it tells you here it's decay. So we got to take, it declined from 92 to 98. In 92 it was this. That's the initial amount times 1 minus the rate. The rate is 3%, which is 0.03. So what's 1 take away 0.03? 0.97. Just do it on a calculator if you can't do it in your head. Raised to the T again, or you could put 6, since 6 is in the problem. Again, you don't have to solve that. This one we do have to solve. It's a depreciation, which is a decay. So Y equals the initial amount times 1 minus the rate. 1 take away 0.18 is 0.82, raised to the 5th. And it is worth 3707.398. That would round to 40 cents, right?